It was past 11 o'clock at night when I opened the door for my elder brother in my pajamas. My brother pushed his good buddy in. "Buddy, I have to go back quickly after seeing you home. My stupid sister might have overslept and couldn't even open the door if I knocked. I might have to call the fire department." 1. During my postgraduate entrance examination period, I broke my leg while riding a skateboard. Coincidentally, my parents were on a trip, so my brother took me back to his apartment. He didn't forget to order takeout for me when he had an engagement in the evening. "Sue Anran, is one portion enough?" I was typing. Good brother. "One portion is indeed." Before I could finish typing, my brother replied, "If it's not enough, you deserve not to find a boyfriend." My brother is good-looking and rich, but he just has a sharp tongue. I finished eating slowly before replying to my brother's message. "Sue Wuyang, when will you be back? If it's too late, just stay outside. Don't disturb my sleep." He left the keys with me when he left. My brother despised me. "Sue Anran, all you do is sleep." I didn't care. Don't beauties sleep a lot? Leaning on my crutches, I went back to the bedroom. I waited and waited but didn't see Sue Wuyang. My eyelids couldn't hold up and closed on their own. I was sleeping soundly when there was a loud knock on the door. Woken up by someone, I was naturally in a bad mood. I got up and opened the door. Before my anger dissipated, a stranger was pushed in. Before I could figure out what was going on, I heard Sue Wuyang standing outside the door say, "Buddy, I have to go back quickly after seeing you home. My stupid sister might have overslept and couldn't even open the door if I knocked. I might have to call the fire department." How many plates of peanuts did he have? With a snap, the door closed. I was face to face with a man nearly 1.9 meters tall. Under the light, the man's short hair was messy. His drunken eyes were hazy, with reddish eye corners, looking at me blankly. To be honest, with this appearance my DNA was stirred. It's just that it wasn't the right time. A little wind from outside slipped in, and my chest suddenly felt chilly. Looking down without knowing why, I was shocked. The 2 buttons on my chest had burst open at some point. In a hurry, I turned around and walked away leaning on my crutches. 5 seconds later, with a snap, I fell on all fours on the ground. Maybe the man behind me was also stunned and didn't react for a long time. I didn't care about the pain in my foot. I was disabled but strong-willed and crawled back to the bedroom. I'm guilty. Let the law punish me. Instead of having my idiot brother send me a man who, when I see him at my most unkempt, makes me want to spend my life with him just to torture me. 2. Lying in bed, I listened to the noises outside with my head covered by the quilt. I didn't hear any noises, only the sound of my heartbeat, reminding me of the embarrassment just now. A minute later, there was another knock on the door. The door opened and it was Sue Wuyang's voice. Chunjeli, why are you at my house? Didn't I just send you home?" I waved my fists in the air and cursed my brother's ancestors for 18 generations through gritted teeth. Others get drunk and forget things, but when Sue Wuyang drinks, he loses his mind. A gentle and helpless voice sounded. "Sue Wuyang, this is your house." My brother asked in confusion. Then he suddenly realized. "Oh, I forgot. You didn't plan to go home today anyway." After a rustling sound, my brother asked again. "Chunjeli, how did you get in? Did you see my sister? Is that pig asleep?" Sue Wuyang, can you shut up?" Chunjeli's voice didn't sound until a while later, but it was deliberately lowered a lot, but I still heard it. "Your sister opened the door, Sue Wuyang. Haven't you taken care of your sister for a long time?" "What do you mean? She looks not good." Recalling the details of our staring at each other just now, I want to die. Because of the fracture, I haven't washed my hair or taken a bath for a week. Plus the button burst open, I must look like a crazy person, right? Especially I can't imagine how terrifying the scene was when he watched me crawl back to the bedroom. I couldn't hear the voices outside talking at all. After a while, my brother knocked on the door and asked me with a big tongue, "Little brat, are you okay after falling just now?" I threw the pillow at the door with a bang, shouted angrily, "Get out!" 3. I, who always slept soundly, actually had a dream all night last night. In the dream I fell on the ground, and that handsome brother helped me up. His eyes fell on my chest. His frowned brows could kill a fly. "You don't look well." My brother is knocking on the door again. Maybe realizing his mistake last night, he asked me with a flattering voice, "Little brat, are you awake? Brother made breakfast for you. Come out and eat. Don't starve my sister's body." There were 2 more knocks. I threw the teddy bear in my hand at the door. "Stop knocking. Are you calling a ghost? Is there only you at home?" "Actually, I just wanted to ask if that handsome brother had left." Sue Wuyang replied to me, "Yes, come out quickly. I'm leaving soon too." I was completely relieved. Fortunately, I don't have to face the handsome brother again. My face is still quite precious. I changed my clothes slowly and went into the kitchen. I saw my brother frying eggs with his head down. His perky butt was calling me. The crutch in my hand couldn't wait. The hatred from last night flared up. I supported myself on the kitchen counter with one hand and whipped it with a snap. "You idiot." There was the sound of slippers behind me. "That's Sue Anran?" I froze in place and mechanically turned my head. Sue Wuyang was behind me, staring at me with wide eyes, looking confused, as if to say, "Why did you hit him?" My legs went weak. The handsome brother, who was as tall as Sue Wuyang, held a spatula in one hand and grabbed my arm with the other, looking down at me blankly. I hit the wrong person. What should I do? This is the Shura field. 4. I sat at the dining table with my head buried in my arms. Sue Wuyang finally lifted my head up, probably because he was laughing so hard that there were still tears in his eyes. He asked me, "Little brat, why are you crying?" Then he pulled his friend standing aside and introduced him to me. "This is my buddy Chunjeli. It's okay. Don't feel embarrassed. Out of blows friendship grows. As an elder brother I won't mind. Right, Chunjeli?" Chan Jelly waved his hand casually, and his gentle and pleasant voice comforted me softly. Don't worry about it, Anran. Forget what just happened. He is really so gentle. Whoa, I'm dead. Looking into those slightly curved black eyes, I really cried. I'm sorry, Brother Jelly. I really didn't mean it. Woo, the phone rang suddenly, and Su Wuyang answered it. Without saying a few words, he turned around and walked out. Chan Jelly, there's something wrong with the company. I'll go back first. Take my sister out to wash her hair. Thanks, buddy. After saying that, he didn't even look back and didn't even say goodbye to me before leaving. The morning breeze slipped in quietly through the window crack. It ruffled Chan Jelly's short hair on his forehead. That man with excellent bone structure always had a smile on his lips. Even when he met an idiot like Su Wuyang, he could only shake his head helplessly. He took out a pair of chopsticks from the kitchen and handed them to me. His gentle words made my bones go soft. Eat, and after eating, brother will take you out to wash your hair and, by the way, take you to the mall. If my hair wasn't too dirty, maybe at this time his hand would be rubbing the top of my head. Under his gentle gaze, I melted into a puddle. How could I remember Su Wuyang? I just really wanted to go into the bathroom and see what I looked like at this time. I picked up the chopsticks and lowered my head to hide the blush on my cheeks. While eating in small bites, I didn't forget to salvage my image. Thank you, brother. Sorry to trouble you. I'll be right there. Don't rush. Don't choke. I ate 8 small steamed buns unhurriedly. When I picked up the second steamer, I suddenly came to my senses and stopped in time. Brother, I'm full. I'll go change my clothes. Wait a minute, okay? I'll be right there. Chan Jelly looked at me and raised his eyebrows. Why did you only eat 1 steamer? Wasn't my cooking delicious? I gently lifted the corners of my lips. Brother, how could I eat so much? I'll go back and change. Su Wuyang was afraid you wouldn't have enough to eat and specially left it for you. Su Wuyang, thank you very much. When I turned around to leave, the soft laugh from behind made my cheeks turn red instantly. 5. Su Wuyang's house is on the 22nd floor. Chan Jelly was afraid it would be inconvenient for me, so he helped me into the elevator. When we reached the 5th floor, 2 naughty kids came in and played basketball in the elevator. I backed away and bumped into Chan Jelly. One hand instinctively grabbed Chan Jelly's thigh for support. Chan Jelly straightened me up and held me in his arms. The smile on his lips disappeared, and his voice was cold. Kids, if you want to land safely, hold your basketballs well and don't do stupid things. The naughty kid wanted to retort, but when he looked up, he wilted. He hugged the basketball and stood obediently aside. My face was burning hot, and I couldn't care about anything else. My mind was full of the feeling of my fingers just now. My whole body was held in Chan Jelly's arms, and the breath on top of my head swept over my hair one after another. I turned my gaze and looked at the mirror opposite. Chan Jelly was looking down, staring at the top of my head. Oh my god, the handsome brother's earlobes are red. What should I do? I was still thinking all kinds of things when the elevator dinged and arrived. The naughty kids walked out obediently. Chan Jelly suddenly spoke, his voice low and hoarse as if restraining something. Anran, can you let go? Let go of what? Following his gaze, I looked down. One of my hands was tightly pressed against his thigh. My fingers were still moving restlessly. Thanks, I died at the age of 20 again. 6. After getting out of the elevator, Chan Jelly called me helplessly behind me. Su Anran, slow down. Be careful not to fall. The faster he called me, the faster I walked. I really can't afford to lose face. I didn't know I was such a female hooligan until I lived to be 20 years old. Chan Jelly walked over in a few steps and took my crutch. What if you accidentally fall? Aren't you afraid of pain? I looked up at him and immediately calmed down. His gentleness could kill me. After washing my hair, Chan Jelly took me to the mall to buy a few sets of change clothes. Later, he directly led me to several lingerie stores and pushed me in to choose clothes. I realized later, with such a familiarity with the location of women's clothing, the handsome brother must be taken. He also bought me milk tea on the way home. What a pity. Such a gentle brother. I don't know which sister is so lucky. 7. Su Wuyang came back in the afternoon with dinner. Maybe to make up for not accompanying me during the day, he brought all my favorite foods. Most importantly, he also brought me a set of personal review materials for college mathematics. The handwriting was free and vigorous, very beautiful. There were several ways to solve difficult problems. I picked up the materials and asked Su Wuyang, "Whose is this?" Su Wuyang looked back and said, "Oh, Chan Jelly went home to find it and sent it to me, saying it would be useful for you." I held the notebook and my mind wandered. I wanted to ask my brother if Chan Jelly had a girlfriend, but after circling the topic a few times, I swallowed it back. My parents called us on video to chat. "Has your brother taken good care of you?" Su Wuyang, who was sitting upright, suddenly pressed me firmly to one side and covered my mouth with one hand to prevent me from making a sound. "Mom, Anran is fine. I took her to wash her hair and bought her clothes today. You can rest assured and have a good time. Play for a longer time." I whined a few times. "Was that you who accompanied me?" Shameless. I think my mom heard the noise on our side and told my brother with a smile, "Wuyang, don't bully your sister. Be careful, your dad beats you when he comes back." My brother laughed casually. "How dare I bully Anran? You can rest assured." After hanging up the phone, I kicked him a few times. "You dare to abuse your own sister. You deserve not to find a girlfriend." The person who was originally smiling suddenly fell silent and looked very lonely. I was surprised. "Really? Is there something going on?" He got up and left. I limped after him. "Do you really have someone you like? Really? Who is so blind? How dare they hurt my brother's heart?" Su Wuyang obviously didn't want to say more and closed his bedroom door without a word. After a while, my phone rang. I opened it and saw that Su Wuyang transferred 50,000 yuan to me. The note said, "Hush money." Oh, If you want to give it, just say so. You have to find an excuse. This awkward person. He is really abnormal. My brother and I are both single since birth. I know the star he likes, but I really don't know the girl he likes. 8. My brother's company is in the startup period. His partners are all his college classmates. It is said that Chanjeli has the best relationship with him, but I have never seen him before. I secretly asked Su Wuyang a few times. That brother Chanjeli, is he usually very popular? Actually, I just wanted to ask if he had a girlfriend. My brother turned his head and glanced at me. Am I, your own brother, popular? Who wants to hear if you are popular? No, it's just that is there anyone around him? Su Wuyang immediately noticed my abnormality and frowned. Su Anran, why are you asking about him? I pretended to pick up a bottle of Coke casually and took a few sips to cover up. Just asking. Seeing Su Wuyang's frown getting tighter and tighter, I cowardly changed the topic. My senior sister is single and very beautiful. I was thinking if I could introduce her to brother Chanjeli. My brother's expression immediately relaxed. After thinking for a while, it seemed that he suddenly thought of something. This can be done. Another day you bring your senior sister, I'll call Chanjeli, and we'll have a meal together. I swallowed hard and my scalp tingled. Making up a friend out of nothing, is that okay? 9. I saw Chanjeli again when I went to the company to deliver documents to my brother. I walked slowly step by step leaning on my crutches. My hair and clothes were carefully taken care of. After looking around, sure enough, I saw that tall figure at a glance. However, there was a girl with a thin back standing beside him. She wasn't very tall, but her straight back looked very good from behind. Chanjeli's doting eyes fell on her face, and he even reached out to straighten her collar. I immediately wilted. I felt a little lonely in my heart. I turned my gaze and froze in place. My legs seemed to have taken root and couldn't move half a step. Look at what I saw. Su Wuyang was standing not far away, his eyes burning and staring at that girl intently. There was an admiration in his eyes that I had never seen before. Combining with a few days ago when I said I wanted to introduce a girlfriend to Chanjeli, my brother's silent moment, and then the smile when he changed his expression and wanted to have a meal. I suddenly realized, I didn't even know that Su Wuyang was so sly. He wanted Chanjeli to fall in love with someone else and not compete with him for the girl, right? But the plot at this time is really a bit dramatic. The girl lowered her head and didn't avoid Chanjeli's touch at all. She just let it be. Isn't this two people being in love with each other? Su Wuyang is a bit pitiful and lost completely. 10. Su Wuyang saw me first and called me Anran here. Chanjeli and the girl both looked at me at the same time. Just one look and I was conquered by the girl's appearance. She's like a fairy. My balance immediately tipped to one side. It's really that the looks of Chanjeli and that girl are too matching. Looking carefully, they really look like a couple. I looked at Su Wuyang. Brother, I'm sorry. For this beautiful couple, I'll cheer for them first. Chanjeli's dark eyes were gentle and soft when he looked at me. Don't be deceived by these eyes. He looks at dogs with deep affection. I obediently offered the most sincere smile to Chanjeli and the girl. Politely greeted. Hello, brother Jelly. Looking into those deer-like big eyes, I playfully squeezed my eyes and mouthed to her. Hello, sister-in-law. The girl was stunned for a moment, and her cheeks immediately flew 11. After chatting with my brother for a few words, he was clearly absent-minded. I felt a bit guilty secretly. To avoid the awkward atmosphere, I went to the bathroom. In the corridor outside, I met Chanjeli. I nodded and smiled at him. When passing by, Chanjeli suddenly called me. Anran, is your foot better? I replied politely. It's recovering well. Chanjeli's short black hair was scattered on his forehead, and the corners of his lips were slightly curved. He suddenly approached me a few steps. Why didn't you call me brother Jelly today? I kept retreating until I stood against the wall. Bewitched by his low and lazy voice, I immediately blushed. Didn't I call you that when I saw you just now? He chuckled softly. You called me brother Jelly just now. I looked up in confusion. So what's the difference? He then said. Have you been studying hard these days? Add me on WeChat. If you have any questions, you can ask me. I took out my phone, thanked him and sincerely praised him. Brother Jelly, that girl is really beautiful. I have to say, your and my brother's taste are surprisingly good. Chanjeli leaned against the wall and looked at me suspiciously. I directly added him as a friend and noted it as Chanjeli. Seeing him operate on his phone, if I'm not mistaken, his note for me was GG. What does GG mean? He led me back to my brother's office. But when he opened the door, I saw a strange scene. The girl was sitting on the sofa with a red face, and my brother was squatting beside her, rubbing his hair irritably. 12. Chanjeli's expression changed several times. I covered my face, only feeling that this scene was even more dramatic than the previous one. I actually saw a trace of guilt on Su Wuyang's face. Brother, are you being a mistress? I silently took a step back, ready to leave, afraid that Chanjeli would go crazy and splash blood on me. Unexpectedly, he grabbed me. He lowered his eyes and said faintly to my brother, Su Wuyang, you have 3 minutes to solve the matter between you and Chanjayu. He pulled me out, his breath unsteady, and just stood there. I thought about it and something was wrong. Chanjayu. Brother Jelly, is that girl yours? He curled his lips. My sister Chanjayu. The CP I was shipping has a bad ending? It's really unbelievable. 13. Speaking of this, Chanjeli suddenly tucked the broken hair on my right side behind my ear. He lowered his head and chuckled softly in my ear. So, who did you think she was just now? The ending sound was lingering and went straight to the bone marrow. I was numb. He approached a few more steps. But that sister-in-law you called was wrong. Su Wuyang will never be able to enter my Chun family's door. I almost subconsciously turned to my brother and retorted with my neck straight. It's your Chun family that can't enter my Su family's door. Chan Jelly seemed to think of something, was stunned for a moment, and his earlobes immediately turned red. I blinked. Just as I was about to speak, I was startled by a roar. Chun Jelly, what are you doing so close? Stay away from my sister. Su Wuyang, like a big dog whose food has been snatched, rushed over with a red face and a thick neck and pulled me away. Chan Jelly raised his eyebrows, stood up straight, and pulled Chan Jiayu. Today's meeting is cancelled. Let's go back first. After taking one step, he turned around again and said to me with his head down, if you have any questions you don't understand, send me a WeChat message. Su Wuyang stood there, staring at the backs of the two people with a strange expression. After a while, he turned his head and stared at my face suspiciously. What did he just say to you? When did you and Chan Jelly become so close? Can I tell him that the Chun family member he has his eye on I also have my eye on? 14. When I got home, my brother was obviously a bit irritable and nagged at me. Focus on your postgraduate entrance examination. Do what you should do. Don't think about other things. Don't be sold and still count the money for others, understand? I was speechless and let him chatter abnormally. My phone vibrated. I took it out and saw that it was a WeChat message from Chan Jelly. My sister said that the styles sold by a clothing store she often goes to are quite special. Do you want the link? Sure enough, cute and beautiful girls are always likable. Thank Chen Jiayu for me. Well, push her WeChat to me, and I'll talk to her directly. I waited for a long time but there was no reply. After I took a shower, I saw Su Wuyang sitting on the sofa sending messages with his phone. He was so irritable that he was like a cat with its fur on end. I leaned over to him. Brother, do you need your sister's help? Su Wuyang turned to look at me and snorted. You're like a donkey listening to a crosstalk. You don't understand anything and still want to teach me how to do things. You don't understand this. Although I haven't been in love, I know a girl's psychology. Are you sure you don't want my help? My brother didn't pay attention to me at all. 15. When I got into bed, Chan Jelly finally replied to the message. Her phone is broken. I'll give it to you another day. Do you have any difficult questions? I quickly found some more difficult questions. I took a picture and sent it to you. I don't know how to do this question. Let me teach you. Then he sent a video call. The broken hair on Chan Jelly's forehead was strand by strand with moisture, and the smile on his lips made the air sweet. Anran, listen while I explain. I nodded and obediently softened my tone. Okay, thank you, Brother Jelly. I gradually fell under the spell of his gentle voice. I don't know when it was, but suddenly I heard a soft laugh. Anran, if you're sleepy, go to sleep. I'll continue explaining to you tomorrow. I was startled and hurriedly wiped the corner of my mouth. I'm sorry, Brother Jelly. Your voice is really... No, I'm really too sleepy. Chan Jelly narrowed his eyes with a smile. It's okay. Go to sleep quickly. Good night. For several consecutive days, he sent me a video on time to explain the questions. It made me rack my brains to pick out some difficult questions during the day and save them for the evening. But this little time in the evening gradually couldn't satisfy me anymore. In order to be able to see Chan Jelly naturally, Su Wuyang's documents always mysteriously disappeared at home, and the things he carried with him were always forgotten. Su Wuyang himself suspected that there was something wrong with his brain. Little brat, I'm sorry. I've been too busy these days and always forget things. Can you send them to me again? Thank you. You can ask for whatever you want to eat or do. I agreed guiltily and hurriedly went to the company to find someone. Chan Jelly's working state was different from usual. He had a serious and cold temperament, and his aura was overwhelming. Several times when I went there, I saw him discussing things seriously with others. Every time I stood not far from him to listen to him talk, he would notice me within a minute. His eyes searched for me, and when he saw me, there was a smile in his eyes. 16. In the lounge, Chan Jelly found me and came over to touch the top of my head. Bringing things to your brother again? I nodded and complained. My brother must be too tired these days. He always forgets things. He just lowered his head and smiled at me, making me feel guilty and sweating. I always felt that he had noticed something. After standing and chatting for a while, he suddenly reached into his trouser pocket and took out a small thing and handed it to me. Jiayu likes to wear these little things. I learned from her and knitted one for you. Do you like it? It was a brown hand rope, woven into a double button knot, with a piece of beeswax strung in the middle, light lemon color, smooth and lustrous. I really liked these small things and couldn't put them down. I looked at them over and over again. Brother Jelly, thank you. I like it very much. How can you be so skillful with your hands? Looking up at him, I realized that he was very close to me. Su Anran. My brother's earth-shattering voice immediately brought me back to my senses. Chan Jelly straightened up in an instant. You better have something important. Su Wuyang's eyes moved back and forth between me and Chan Jelly, and suddenly he said something astonishing. Hey Anran, didn't you say you wanted to introduce a girlfriend to Chan Jelly last time? Why don't we make an appointment today? Send a message to your senior sister now. I hurriedly turned to look at Chan Jelly. Chan Jelly's dark eyes looked at me blankly, with some wronged and some coldness with an unclear meaning. The big step that was it's not easy taken was pushed back to the origin by my brother's words. I looked at Chan Jelly and explained, no that. My brother frowned. What no? You told me this yourself. I shut up and quickly pulled my brother away. On the way I looked back at Chan Jelly. He was standing there blankly, and his back looked a bit desolate. 17. In the evening for the first time Chan Jelly did an initiative send me a video. This made me really anxious. I had no choice but to initiative send him one. When the video was connected it was Chan Jiayu. She squinted her eyes and greeted. I said what my brother was doing in his bedroom every day. Hello little Anran. I hurriedly and excitedly shouted. Jiayu Jiayu, you're so beautiful. With this shout, it really attracted Su Wuyang from the living room. Who are you calling? Jiayu. He came over and stood in front of the screen and shouted blankly, Jiayu. Looking at my phone and seeing that I was on a call with Chan Jelly, he turned his head and glared at me again. When Chan Jiayu saw my brother coming, she actually turned her head and left without saying a word. Su Wuyang stood there at a loss. After a long while he sighed, touched my head, and also turned around and left. What happened to these two people? Unexpectedly, as soon as Su Wuyang left, Chan Jiayu appeared again with a smile. Anran, I wanted to add you on WeChat last time. My brother said your phone was broken. Now it's repaired. Chan Jelly coughed twice. Do you have anything else to do? If not, go to sleep early. I seem to have discovered a secret. Before Jiayu left, I decisive read out my WeChat ID. Jiayu, please pass my friend request. Let's chat on WeChat. Before leaving, Chan Jiayu looked at Chan Jelly strangely. The room was very quiet, and his dark eyes stared straight at me. It made me feel guilty. My heartbeat was out of rhythm, and I racked my brains to think of a topic. After a long time I managed to say, Brother Jelly, do you want one more sister? Chan Jelly sneered and was helpless. You're really? His gaze seemed to penetrate the screen and burn people. Quiet, endless quiet. After a long while he said, No, I want a wife. I lowered my eyes and secretly curled my lips. Then what kind of person do you like? Chan Jelly's eyes were filled with deep affection as he stared at me. For the first time he was straightforward. Someone like you. I didn't show any expression on my face, but my feet were stomping crazily on the ground. Ah, then you. Before I could finish speaking, Chan Jelly couldn't wait. Can you be my girlfriend? I wanted to jump through the screen and coo into his arms, but I still managed my facial expression and shyly lowered my head. Okay. 17. When I hung up the video, Chan Jelly's eyes and the corners of his mouth were filled with smiles. I rolled myself up in the quilt and twisted myself into a twist. After calming down my mood, I sent a WeChat message to Chan Jiayu. Now that my problem was solved, it was time to seek happiness for my brother. Jiayu, I'm going to have the plaster removed tomorrow, and no one will accompany me. Do you have time? How about we go shopping after that? Jiayu replied quickly. No problem, little Anran. By the way, have you finished chatting with my brother? It's so late. I don't know where he went. We just got together and this guy is already not being a gentleman? With all kinds of thoughts in my mind, my phone rang. It was a call from Chan Jelly, and he only said 2 words, come down. The night was falling, and the evening breeze was blowing gently. I limped and was held in Chan Jelly's arms. Darling, why are you in such a hurry? I won't run away. I looked up at him and smiled. Brother Jelly, he hummed, his voice lazy and hoarse, and his arms around me slowly tightened. He bent down and his head was getting closer and closer to me. I stood on tiptoe. My heart was tossing and turning. Only the 2 heartbeats, thumping wildly and harmoniously in the quiet night. After a long time, I don't know whose phone was buzzing. My legs went weak, and I was held by Chan Jelly with one hand. Who is so inconsiderate? Thinking like this, I couldn't help but make a very dissatisfied tisk sound. Chan Jelly's soft laugh was amplified several times in the quiet space. My restless heart was also exposed in the night. 18. My brother called me back with one phone call. Before I left, Chan Jelly touched the top of my head. His fingers brushed past my ears, and he pinched my earlobes. His voice is still echoing in my ears now. Little darling, there will be plenty of time in the future. Brother Jelly is yours. The next day when the plaster was removed, of course, Su Wuyang accompanied me. I told him that I had an appointment with Chan Jiayu, and my brother dressed himself up like a peacock. When we arrived at the hospital, we found that Chan Jelly had also come. My brother wondered, what are you doing here? Don't you have anything to do at the company today? Chan Jelly twitched the corners of his mouth. You accompany your sister, and I accompany my sister. What's wrong with that? Su Wuyang frowned, but being suppressed by his identity as the elder brother of the girl, he didn't dare to say anything and quickly walked a few steps to find Jiayu. While Su Wuyang was approaching Chan Jiayu, Chan Jelly secretly pinched my palm. Little darling, why didn't you ask me to accompany you? It's not that I'm afraid you'll mess up my plan to bring them together. I tentatively asked, Brother Jelly, do you really disagree with Jiayu and my brother being together? Chan Jelly snorted awkwardly. Don't worry about this. I'm afraid your brother can't handle Jiayu. I sweated for Su Wuyang. The back of Su Wuyang's head suddenly turned around, and he glared at me. Why are you walking so slowly? Why are you two so close? Oh, you don't let Chan Jelly touch his wife, but you still want to court his sister? I'm really worried for him. After the plaster was removed, the 4 of us went shopping. Then I realized what my brother's problem was. He was simply the representative of a straight man in science and engineering. When Chan Jiayu was trying on clothes, he stood aside and seriously commented. Mainly, what he said was quite reasonable, but this would make any girl who hadn't confirmed the relationship with him feel disgusted. Fortunately, Chan Jiayu probably had a crush on my brother. Otherwise, Chan Jiayu would have chased him away long ago. 19. Seeing that Jiayu's face was getting darker and darker, I stepped forward to stop my brother from talking. Brother, just shut up, okay? My brother glared at me. Am I wrong? I was speechless and could only ask him to stop talking for the time being and teach him a lesson when we got back. When we were having dinner, my brother wanted to sit with Chan Jiayu again, but he didn't want me to sit with Chan Jelly. Chan Jelly reacted quickly and quickly sat beside me and pretended to order something. Under the table, his right hand completely covered my hand, and his fingers sometimes brushed past my fingertips, making me feel numb and tingly. I blushed and couldn't help but breathe lightly. When I came to my senses again, I saw Chan Jiayu leaning towards Su Wuyang and asking him, Do you think my lipstick has rubbed off? Su Wuyang moved back a little and looked down. Where did it rub off? Jiayu looked at me, full of helplessness. Seeing that she finally adjusted her mood and talked to Su Wuyang again, pointing at a passing girl, she said, "Hey Su Wuyang, this girl is beautiful. Really beautiful." My brother looked at her carefully and nodded in agreement. Indeed, she has a good figure and beautiful features. I felt Chanjeli tremble. Looking back, this guy couldn't help laughing. No wonder Su Wuyang can't find a wife. I even feel that Su Wuyang doesn't deserve Chan Jiayu. He still didn't notice that Chan Jiayu's face was not good. Seeing that Jiayu had been staring at the pot, he actually seriously discussed the material of the pot with Jiayu. Jiayu had nothing to say. My brother asked a question, and she answered very perfunctorily. Point 20. After dinner, my brother wanted to send Chan Jiayu home, but Chan Jeli disagreed. He quietly left a sentence in my ear. "Send me a message when you get home. I can't see you off today, be good." I nodded and watched helplessly as Chan Jeli pulled Chan Jiayu away. My brother stood there looking desolate. Serves him right. When I got home, I took a screenshot of a straight man's behavior from the website and asked him to compare himself. This guy realized it later and covered his face and asked me after a long time, "Damn it, did I embarrass you?" I smiled and nodded. He slapped his face with both hands, making 2 slapping sounds. "No, I've never been in love before. I'm just telling the truth. Sometimes I really don't know what you girls want to hear. Teach me quickly. How can I improve my image?" I was eating melon seeds and complaining in my heart. Why does Chan Jeli always know what I need? Well, you have to seriously reflect on yourself and really understand Jiayu's heart. My brother hurriedly analyzed his feelings for Jiayu. I really like Jiayu very much. I've never seen such a gentle girl. She's so delicate and soft. I adore her to death. I'm not reflecting on myself. I'm worried every day about what went wrong. I sent this voice message to Jiayu. Less than a minute later, Jiayu replied to my message. "Your brother is just a bit stupid and straightforward. Leave it to me. It's time to be straightforward and make your brother have nowhere to hide." Seeing this, I was surprised and looked up and asked Su Wuyang, "Haven't you confessed your love to Jiayu?" My brother's cheeks turned red. "I just don't have enough confidence that Jiayu will agree. So I want to maintain a good image in front of Jiayu first." I held my forehead and sighed. "If you're any slower, Jiayu will run away with someone else." He got anxious and stood up in a panic and walked around a few times. What should I do? His phone rang. Su Wuyang picked it up and looked at it. His face turned red instantly and he handed it to me tremblingly. "Kid, what does Jiayu mean?" The WeChat message from Jiayu was, "Su Wuyang, do you like me?" I was so angry that I couldn't help but scold. "What? Do you want me to confess for you?" Su Wuyang's hands were shaking as he typed a line beside me. "Jiayu, I like you. Will you be my girlfriend?" At the same time as he sent it, he received a message. "I agree." Su Wuyang was stunned for a long time. His neck and earlobes were bright red. He jumped up excitedly and turned around and ran. "Little brat, I can't wait. I'm going to see your sister-in-law first." "This sister-in-law? Then who am I? Whose sister-in-law am I?" I couldn't care less. I hurriedly sent a WeChat message to Chan Jeli, calling him in a coquettish voice. "Brother Jeli, my brother has gone after true love. There's no one at home." 21. I deliberately didn't turn on the light. After opening the door, a beam of light faintly shone in from the corridor. Chan Jeli's eyes were extremely dark, and his short hair was messily scattered on his forehead. He bent down and kissed me. The door suddenly made a noise. Both of us were startled. Chan Jeli quickly straightened my clothes while gently soothing me. "It's okay. Your brother will find out sooner or later." With a snap, the room was brightly lit. Looking at each other, my mind was blank and I called out blankly, "Mom and Dad, why are you back?" My mother's mouth was so wide that it could fit an egg. My father looked left and right and frowned and asked, "Where's your brother?" Before I could answer, he turned around and walked out on his own. My mother followed behind. "Huh? Where did Su Wuyang go? That brat, always running around and not staying at home." The door slammed shut again. Chan Jeli held his forehead and sighed. He simply put his arm around my waist and kissed my forehead. "Little darling, let's get engaged." "Ah? Why are we getting engaged all of a sudden?" He picked up the coat beside him, turned around, lowered his head and kissed the corner of my mouth again. "Go back to the bedroom first. Take a bath and go to sleep directly. Leave it to me." I tossed and turned in bed, my mind blank. If my parents caught me being affectionate with my boyfriend, would they beat me to death? Fortunately, my parents saved me some face. I just don't know what Chan Jeli is going to say to my parents. Until I heard the door open. I ran out and saw that Su Wuyang was back. He looked at the boxes at the door and wondered, "Mom and Dad are back? Didn't you see anyone at the door?" He shook his head. "No." At the moment he reached out, I saw a red string tied around his wrist. And my brother also noticed the red string on my wrist in an instant. He pointed at my hand and asked, "Did Jiayu give this to you?" I scratched my forehead, not knowing what to say. This time my parents came in. 22. They first glanced at me and then asked my brother, "Where did you go so late? Leaving your sister alone at home?" My brother was shy for a moment and stammered, "Something happened. I went out for a while." My father patted my brother on the shoulder with a bit of contempt. "You're not even as good as your sister." The atmosphere was full of gunpowder. Su Wuyang was confused and Bu Fuqi for a while. Biased. "How am I not as good as my sister? I'm a grown man. How am I not as good as my sister?" My mother directly said in a disappointed tone, "Your sister has a boyfriend. Look at you, a big man can't even court a girl. How are you better than your sister?" I froze in place, speechless. "It's over." The atmosphere was strange and quiet. Su Wuyang seemed not to understand what my mother said. After a long time he realized it later and asked, "Has a boyfriend? Who? Who managed to court my sister under my nose?" My father took off his clothes and walked towards the sofa, glancing at me on the way. "His name is Chan Jeli. He started a company. His father is in politics and his mother is in business. His background is quite simple and he's a nice person. Su Wuyang was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on and screamed, "Who did you say?" Chun Jelly. My mother's hand trembled. She kicked Su Wuyang. "Are you crazy? Why are you shouting so loudly? Are you deaf? His name is Chun Jelly. It is said that he has a sister at home. What's her name?" "It's called." My mother looked at my father for the answer. My brother stiffly answered, "Chun Jiayu." My mother patted her thigh. "Oh right, it's called Chun Jiayu." The air suddenly became thin. I couldn't even move my feet. I saw my brother's face turning black little by little. He slowly turned to look at me. "Su Anran, you'd better give me an explanation." He didn't even put on his clothes. With a snap he slammed the door when he went out. My parents were confused and turned to ask me, "What's wrong with your brother? Is he a sister complex?" I could only sit on the sofa and explain the whole story to my parents in detail. The two of them were so surprised by the sudden good news that their faces became much rosier. My mother comforted me. "Think about it. One is your beloved sister, and the other is his best friend. He feels that you didn't take him seriously, and that you two were dating behind his back." I put on a bitter face. I wanted to tell him too, but he wasn't very receptive when I first asked about Chun Jelly. My phone rang. Chun Jelly sent a WeChat message. "Su Wuyang came to find me. Don't worry. Go to sleep obediently. Tell your uncle and aunt that they must be tired from the flight and should rest early. Good night, my dear." 23. Su Wuyang didn't come back until early in the morning. I already had something on my mind and couldn't sleep well. I was awakened by the sound of him opening the door. I ran out and saw that he was drunk, with red cheeks and unsteady steps. When he saw me come out, he snorted and ignored me. I quickly poured him a glass of water and called softly, "Brother." Su Wuyang still didn't speak. After a long while he sniffed, "The little brat has grown up. I should send you off to get married soon." I suddenly felt a sourness in my chest and walked over and leaned on his shoulder. "Brother, I will always be your little sister. Even if I get married, you have to dote on me and spoil me." My brother touched the top of my head and sneered, "Yes, how could I not dote on you? I will always dote on you." I just smiled. "Brother, have you forgotten? We are related by marriage." Speaking of this, my brother was full of anger and gritted his teeth. I regarded him as my brother, but he actually wanted to court my sister. "Su Wuyang, it's the same for you. Didn't you want to court his sister too?" The problem is, he knew I liked his sister, but what about him? He stole my sister. 24. The private room was quiet. There were several small tables at the door, filled with red gifts and wedding candies. There was a table full of dishes on the round table. The two fathers were sitting at the head, and the two mothers were sitting beside them in turn. Chun Jelly whispered in my ear teasingly, "Now that you're a sister-in-law, are you happy?" I was playing with his phone and glanced at him. "Jiayu and I both call each other sister-in-law. So confusing. Just call each other by name." He put his head on my shoulder. "Then aren't you at a loss?" I ignored him and pointed at the Beiju name he gave me on WeChat and asked, "Chun Jelly, what does Gigi mean?" He took the opportunity when no one was looking and bit me, feigning anger. "Call me Brother Jelly. You don't even know how cute you sound when you call me those 4 words." "I love it to death." I blushed and whispered, "Brother Jelly, then what does this do really mean?" He said, "Darling." "It means darling." "No." I was curious. "Why did you note it as darling when you added me on WeChat for the first time?" He kneaded my fingers and smiled very annoyingly. "Because I knew that you would be my wife in the future. I know exactly what's on your mind." Chen's mother and my mother were chatting, and they both laughed at the same time. "Just call each other by name. There are no so many rules. We are related by marriage. It couldn't be better." They must be talking about the matter of addressing again. But my brother disagreed and shouted at me, "No way. Your sister-in-law hasn't heard anyone call her that yet. You should call her sister-in-law for a few days to satisfy her." Chun Jiayu was speechless. She twisted my brother's ear, and my brother threw himself into her arms, becoming as stupid as a 3-year-old. My mother scolded my brother with a smile. "You youngsters can do whatever you want. We don't care." In this harmonious atmosphere, everyone subconsciously looked for the sight of the person they loved the most. They smiled at each other. In the vast sea of people, we finally found a place to belong. The parents of the two families stood up and raised their glasses to congratulate. "Wish you a happy engagement." The inn.